there is no better place to get specific skill training that is going to get you up and rolling in the career track that you want as efficiently as possible.
How can a set of skills lead you down the path to success? That's what we're setting out to answer on the EdUp Canada podcast. I'm your host, Michael Sangster. Join me as we unpack how leaders around the world have taken training and skills and turned that into a lasting career. Now let's learn together. Welcome back to the EdUp Canada podcast, episode 39. I'm your host, Michael Sangster, and today we have a special episode in store for you. Sure, I say that every week, but today I mean it. My guest today is simply one of my favorite people. She likes espresso martinis, but hasn't quite acquired the taste for Fireball yet. Or maybe she has, and maybe won't have it again. Joining us is Krista Livingstone Clark, a driving force behind educational excellence and innovation at Discovery College in British Columbia. Krista comes to us today with a wealth of experience and a passion for empowering students. Krista and Discovery College have been instrumental in shaping education in British Columbia, and not just in the big cities, and we'll talk about that. At Discovery College, they foster an environment where students are not just educated, but inspired to excel. From groundbreaking curriculum developments to pioneering news that we will dive into, things they're doing around nursing and other fields. But today we're also going to dive into Krista's journey, exploring the challenges, triumphs, and insights that have shaped her career and Discovery College. So grab your headphones and join us as we embark on a journey of discovery with Krista Livingstone Clark, only here on the EdUp Canada podcast. Krista, welcome. Is it sunny in BC today?
Not at all. It is overcast and rainy.
So it's pretty much 300 days of the year.
It's a wild West Coast day.
I like to declare up front, Krista's on the board of directors of the National Association of Career Colleges, but she's a friend. She's been a shining light around our sector. I don't think I've ever seen her frown. I don't know if she has a frown, but we've never seen it yet. So let's jump right in. Let's ask some questions. And I like to start fights. So why do West Coast career colleges train students better than any of our other members? And let's think about, some of our friends in Newfoundland and Labrador. Why are you so much better than them?
Oh, that's tricky. Better. Well,
see, I told you she's nice. She won't say it.
Well, I love all the people you mentioned, and I think we're very fortunate in Canada to have such strong collaboration from west to east. And I would say there's a lot of similarities. But if we talk about West Coast, what's better about West Coast is where can you surf, ski, and go to school all in the same day?
I've done the Vancouver Triathlon, as it was explained to me, skied in the morning, golfed in the afternoon, and gone sailing at night, all within the site of the Pan Pacific Hotel. That was a good day.
You can add education to that too.
That was a good day. We learned some things that day. Some of them were productive things. So let's dive right into healthcare, because that is something that Discovery College is known for, healthcare training. You do amazing work in that field. And I know you're proud of the work you do there. So let's dive right in. Tell us about your nursing programs, because people don't realize that in this country, regulated career colleges train nursing. So let's talk about the program you have, maybe some of the entry requirements, the job prospects for students that are listening today, and even the length of study.
Yeah, practical nursing is a high opportunity profession in BC. Currently, there's 1,000 LPN job openings listed on Indeed for BC, employment in BC. And Work BC, so the provincial government has done the labor market forecasting that there'll be approximately 4,200 new job openings over the next 10 years. So high opportunity, high reward, and there's a ton of funding. If you're willing to work in rural, remote BC, there's federal and provincial loan forgiveness for practical nursing. The PM program is a 2-year program. It includes 4 semesters Your level 1 semester is all the basics of bedside nursing. It's level 1. Level 2 goes into more of the advanced practical nursing skills and learning objectives required for long-term care. When you finish your first year, you can apply to CatchWire as well. So that's something I'll explain a little bit later, but you could be working as a healthcare assistant while you roll through your year 2. And year 2, level 3 is all about community nursing, and level 4 is the acute setting. And then it's all wrapped up with a preceptorship and placement of your choice. You can choose long-term care, acute, or community. And then you go and you write your national exam. So it does take pretty much a full 2 years, depending on whether you're in an accelerated program. Some programs are 30 hours a week. Some programs are 20 hours a week, giving you that ability to work and go to school at the same time. Prerequisites, you need to be a grade 12 grad, equivalent or mature student status. You have to have an English 12, a math 11, and an anatomy and physiology 12 or equivalent. There's lots of ways to get the equivalent status. So if you're a mature student, don't be afraid of the prerequisites. There are lots of ways to tackle the equivalency. Contact your school, contact us. We'll help you through it at Discovery Community College, that's for sure. But again, high need, high reward. It's going to be work, but it is such a rewarding field.
4,200 sounds to me like they're underestimating the need that's going to come up, to be honest with you, from what we hear in other provinces.
Yeah.
Retirements are cruising through, and they've had we all owe a debt of thanks to anybody working in the healthcare field in the last 5 years especially, but they're tired, aren't they, when you deal with. So talk to me about the practical teaching that goes on in your college for that program. It's not just books, right?
The practical training is amazing. There is practical training in each level, and it starts with the lab. There's a ton of scenarios and equipment familiarity, and then you take those competencies and skills and you apply it in a clinical. So that's the repeat in every single level. It's leveling up in the PN program. So theory, lab, clinical, theory, lab, clinical. So rinse and repeat as you move through. And so students really gain the competence and the confidence to tackle the more advanced skills as they move through the program.
I'm going to walk backwards. So now we're going to go back to someone walks in the front door or comes to your website. And I'm going to warn you, I did it last night. I went on your website to enroll to a program and I filled out the form. Talk to me about the assessment you do, because I got a phone call from someone this morning about the program I'd chosen to walk me into coming into the process. And I had to admit that it was a bit of a test to see how you do these things. So help our listeners understand how you assess students, because success is important, right? Finding someone who can come out the far side and graduate and go to work, not wasting their time. You don't accept every student, do you?
That's a tricky question, because I think for me, I like to flip the lens. Not every student is enrolled immediately, but we also don't want to exclude students, right? So the goal will be to start. Somebody inquires, they see a program or they're interested in starting school, they'll inquire. And the very first thing we do is connect that person with an advisor to have a conversation about what it is that attracts them to that particular program. Is it something they've been thinking about for some time? Do they know people in the field already? Have they had any experience in and around that field before? And really, there's a conversation and a buildup around what it is they're hoping to achieve by going back to school. Sometimes the program that they've inquired about isn't the best fit once they go through that conversation. There might be a completely different program that has what they're looking for. It might be about the academic level that they can enter into a program. Like, for example, practical nursing. You just heard there's a bunch of entrance requirements that might be a bit challenging for some students to walk into, or they want to get into school sooner than going through all those prereqs. So starting in something like the healthcare assistant, which is a grade 10 entry level, is a better fit. So we have some pretty amazing teammates that are really great at just having a conversation with somebody about what their hopes and dreams are. Why are they looking at skill-specific training right now? And what's the best path forward for them?
We did have a good conversation with your enroller person. We decided policing was not for me. But I understand it was interesting to kind of walk through a little bit of it, and I asked her a few questions, and she was headed down all the directions you're talking about. So your system's working. That was late last night, and they called me this morning to talk about it. So let me go backwards one more step.
Sure.
Talk to me about the regulatory requirements that you have to go through to be able to train nurses. You don't just start a course. And spend a couple minutes, tell us what did it take to get approved for this program? And if it's a long ago, what does it take to stay approved now?
Well, we're probably in our 16th or 17th year or longer of delivering practical nursing programs. And the regulatory body and environment has changed a lot in those years. And the program has changed in those years. Healthcare is changing. So it's interesting. So I'll speak a little bit more about what our current regulatory environment is. So we're a regulated career college in BC. So we're regulated by the provincial government first and foremost through the private training institutions branch, or the integrity systems branch as it's now being renamed. So you first have to be a school that is designated, and then you can apply to the BC Colleges of Nurses and Midwives, the BCCNM, to deliver practical nursing. And as I mentioned, it's been some time. So we were already offering the practical nursing program as a regulated college as the BCCNM started to take hold as one of the new regulatory bodies for all nursing programs in BC. And just to give you an idea of what a school has to do, each program at each location is its own identity and will be evaluated on its own. It's a continuous process of self-evaluation, and there's 3 areas that the Education Program Review Committee reviews at an institution or at a location. And that's student standards, curriculum standards, and graduate standards. And each of these areas have indicators that have to be met. And following the self-eval, this process includes inspections and evidence gathering from that committee. And at the end of the process, they make an evaluation of that submission, of that evaluation process, and sends it to their board. And then the board makes a determination. So it's a very lengthy process. You're always in some point in that cycle. The BCCNM, they're a very collaborative group. They have strong standards. The self-eval is sometimes somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 pages of documentation that you're submitting with evidence. And then they review, and then they inspect. And then you have either areas that you need to beef up, improve. It's always that concept of delivering the best product for obviously public safety at the end of the day.
And here I just thought you were unregulated and you guys just popped up and operate, huh? You have a whole team of people dealing with regulations, don't you?
A team, exactly. It is a fleet. This process is, and that's just one program.
One program.
But it is, it's
an important
a good
one.
process.
But important one, and the regulations
process.
are important. We're not fighting it. We just like to make sure Canadians understand we actually have those regulations in place, especially for a program like this. So let me wander over here for one last question about your nursing program.
Sure.
Can you do more? Can you increase your capacity?
Yes. And we're currently working with the BCCNM on that. We are looking to expand out to more rural, remote communities, looking at how we can make practical nursing more accessible. Yeah, we're very excited.
Spend a minute, only a minute, Krista. You're not based in big cities. You have little pop-up, I don't know, pop-up campus is not the right word for it, but they really kind of show up, teach a course, and close down for a while, don't they? To get training out to remote communities in British Columbia.
Yeah, we have permanent training sites that are in strategic rural remote areas, but additionally to that, we have what are called mobile units. So we're able to do very rural remote training where possible. We have ten mobile units, so we're able to pop up in places like Castlegar Trail, Nelson, Merritt, 100 Mile House, all these smaller areas that don't have access to permanent, especially healthcare assistant training.
Those programs would be teaching nursing. You'd be coming to a permanent location for that program, wouldn't you?
Yeah, we're exploring. We're exploring with the BCCNM how to make the program more accessible. Certainly, for example, Port Hardy on the north end of Vancouver Island, if people in BC are used to hearing about emergency closures and not enough staff to keep emergency rooms and hospitals fully staffed. And so looking at how to problem solve, making education accessible in those rural remote communities are really important. If a student has to leave their community for 2 years, they set up roots in that community where they're going to school and they very rarely go back. So, problem solving, how to make a 2 year program accessible or at least partially accessible from a home base is very, very important. It's important to the BCCNM and to us as well.
Complete pivot. Tell me about Krista. What has made you successful? What skill do you think has made you successful? Is it something you naturally had, you had when you were young, or it's something you've developed over time from experience?
Let your children play with Lego. I started very, very young
I didn't see that
playing with
coming.
Lego. I
Okay.
know,
I
I love
didn't
it.
see that coming. Play with Lego. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm a big science nerd for sure. But I started playing with Lego very, very young, and the ability to kind of aspirationally have a goal at the end and being able to be creative in how to get there and learning how to problem solve. I think that was I learned a lot about applied problem solving with Lego. Second to that, I was a shyer child, and my mom really taught me how to, make eye contact. And even though it was incredibly uncomfortable, to always, go and ask inquiring questions of people you didn't know. Eye contact and inquiring questions. And I developed some good people skills at a young age. So problem solving and people skills.
Good answer. I like the Lego one. I didn't see that coming. So
Let your girls play Lego.
let's go. Let your girls play with Lego. Let's go backwards into healthcare because I really wanted to focus on healthcare today. We're on a big campaign to let Canadians know about what we do in this sector. So let's talk dental. You have 4 different courses that capture a wide range of practices. Can you kind of quickly walk us through them and maybe touch on the job demands in this area as well too?
I would start with the flagship, which is the Dental Assisting Level 2 program. That is where you can work as a chairside dental assistant fully. It's the national, you write a national exam at the end. So, similar to the practical nursing, it's slightly longer than a year. It takes about 13 months to complete. Same sort of concept where you can work and go to school at the same time. There is a bunch of federal grants if you're looking to fund through Student Aid BC for that program. Really high demand. With all of the increased federal subsidies around dental health, there is just an increased opportunity. Dentists can't grow fast enough without dental assistance. They need a dental assistant, like a dentist usually runs about 4 to 6 chairs, and they need a dental assistant in each chair. It's just incredible. The opportunity is huge. So it's interesting when Michael, going back to that question you asked about people inquiring. So often, because there's been such a big push for healthcare, people inquire about practical nursing. One of the conversations our advisors will have about, their availability to work. Are they open for, 24/7 work? Some people are like, no, I've got kids, I've got family. Well, equally high opportunity, high reward is dental assisting, except it's during the day. There's some weekends, there's some evenings, depending on how, forward the offices, but there's no graveyards in dental assisting. That's the good news. And the rate of pay, because it's generally private sector and high demand, is outpacing practical nursing right now. Practical nurses can expect to be earning about $33 to $35 an hour within their first year. We're seeing dental assisting in the high demand, sometimes starting at 35 and up. It's really interesting right now.
Talk about quickly, and I'm going to segue you here, but dental records assistants too, right? Running a practice.
Yeah, there's dental reception, and then we have a medical dental office management program. So dental reception is the short in and out, be able to learn how to do the record keeping, the billing, you learn the language. So if you're going to sample and test, is this the field for me? You could start in dental reception. It's literally 12 weeks. You're in school, in and out. And there's such a high demand for people to be working knowledgeably on the front end. And then what happens after dental reception is you can add an imaging course. So you saw dental imaging on there. So you can upgrade and add the radiography to your dental reception. Or you can also add in the medical dental office management, where you learn all the nuts and bolts of running an office. So similar to Craig Tucker out on the East Coast and his subway model, this is the subway model from entry level all the way along in the dental medical field.
Interesting. So the demand is there, the opportunities are there. That 12-week program for somebody who really needs to get restarted but doesn't have the time, and then can ladder into something else. So
exactly. It's all about laddering.
I had two more kind of sector questions here on healthcare I want to talk about. And there's sometimes confusion because it's only in Canada do we have to have, an education system in every province and a healthcare system in every province. We have to call it something different. Everything. So tell me about, I noticed you've got a healthcare assistant program, but you've also got community support workers, and the average person won't know the difference about those two jobs.
Yeah.
Tell me about those programs quickly.
Really good question. So healthcare assistants are it's a really interesting field. It's been regulated in BC since, going into probably 2008, 2009. So healthcare assistants are regulated through the BC Curated and Community Health Worker Registry. So back in the day, my grandma was an RN. She was a director of care at a long-term care home. And when she ran her long-term care home back in the 70s and 80s, you could walk in and be trained on the job to work as a healthcare assistant. And so the job expectation, though, and those skills have been evolving over the years. And really, a healthcare assistant today is what a nurse assistant would have been back in my grandmother's day. And so these healthcare assistants are really primary bedside nurses. They do tremendous work. It's pretty amazing. But you have to graduate from a regulated career college or public college that's been approved by the BC Curated and Community Health Worker Registry in BC to deliver the provincial curriculum with the provincial standards. Very similar to the nursing program. It's theory, lab practice, a bunch of clinical and preceptorships. It's a really great program. Community support workers, they're a very important part of the BC care economy, but they're currently unregulated. We have been hearing for about a decade, the dancing around how to regulate that particular field. It will come. But our program at Discovery Community College, because it's such a broad field, includes 3 certificates in 1 diploma. So there's a social service worker semester, a community mental health worker semester, and an education assistant semester. That sort of lines up the trifecta of all the skills that would be needed in multiple fields across BC. It's a very important field. And again, same sort of thing, high opportunity, high reward. There's over 1,000 postings in those fields combined as well in BC right now.
So let me go. I had one last question about Discovery College, and I think this will be a surprise for people. And I might come back to you guys in a minute, but class sizes in many of these programs. I've been in your college. I went to a dental office assistant program. I think it was 12 in that group, but it might have been 16 in that class. But what's the average class size for some of your programs?
Yeah, well, it depends. In-person training, I would say we see smaller class sizes. And some of our programs, they have theory online, and that you might be in a larger class size. Theory online, we're looking at probably about 30 to 40 students, but you have an instructor, two instructors often, and an education assistant. But when you move to the breakouts at the campus, you're looking at sometimes 8 to 16 students in a class. So you get the practical training in a smaller, supportive, hands-on environment. And then you get the opportunity to be in a more robust theory environment online. Some of our programs are offered completely in person, like the dental assisting, and the maximum class size would be 16. So it really depends on the program and what your flexibility is around what you can take and where you can attend. And those are some of those conversations our advisors have with the learners as they start on the early days of planning what their education is going to look like.
Discovery College, 35 years. Tell me the story.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
How much has it
35
changed?
years.
What stayed the same from day one? Because I think I know the answer to that question. Focus on people. I know you people. It's focus on those students, isn't it?
It is. It's very student focused. It's also very community focused. 35 years ago, Campbell River, where home base was, or still is today, that's the same. Our home base is still in Campbell River, which is not the northernmost end of Vancouver Island, but it's it's a good 3 hours from Victoria.
Really ugly part of the world, right? No scenic views at all up there.
Awful. You should come and check it out. That's what I have to
I
say.
think we're using sarcasm here, ladies and gentlemen. It's a gorgeous spot, isn't it?
It is so beautiful. It really, really is beautiful. And it's growing. There's a ton of opportunity. And actually, the number one employer on Vancouver Island today is Island Health, whereas 35 years ago, it would have been the mills, and the forest industry. So it's interesting. It's changing. It's evolving. But 35 years ago, there was not the same robust public school system, college system that we have today. And if you wanted any kind of skill-specific training in Campbell River, really there was none to be had. You had to leave town to get those skills. And again, as I mentioned earlier, when people leave their community to get those skills, they very rarely come back. So Discovery Community College started as a small business college, teaching people how to use those magic boxes we can't live without now, and did a lot of retraining and development around that. And as a small business college, at some point, Lois McNestry, I think it was 1999, became involved. 1998, I think, became involved, and she was the driver behind bringing all the other great training that we now offer at Discovery. So business was that platform. We still offer business today, but really healthcare has been a big part of it.
And Lois McNestry is one of those career champions in our sector, and I believe has a bit of a relationship with you, does she not?
Yeah. That's my mother.
That's your mother, and we had the honor of honoring her last year. There wasn't a dry eye in the place when we took a moment to honor her at your campus in where were we? Surrey? In Surrey. It was nice. So I chuckled. There was a lot of noise this year around international students and locations of our colleges being in strip malls. And in your college, you could see 3 different colleges, if I'm correct.
That's right.
Within a block, and there was another one a block away of our members. But we've heard about this located in strip malls, like it's a bad thing. That's where the students are, and across the street was what? Transit, the train, the SkyTrain. There's a reason we locate where we do.
Well, it's about being accessible, about, again, that concept of being inclusive. Listen, I'm a product of the public system, and I love education. And I love our BC public school system. We're very fortunate to have such an excellent school system. But it is a game of exclusion where you have to gain entry. And then when you're in there, you have instructors that say, look to your right, look to your left. Half of you won't be here by midterm. It doesn't foster that inclusionary environment. I mean, they're changing, they're adapting, they have to, but the goal for Discovery and for our colleagues across Canada is to find ways to be inclusive, to make education accessible. There is no reason that any individual who wants to step up and become a healthcare assistant should be on a wait list or feel like they don't have the grades or language level to get there at some point within the next 12 months. If they're here in Canada and they've gained entry because they've got education and language, we have to help them leverage up.
And I know we've talked about this around our board of directors, and you and I have sat and talked about it over an espresso martini, the importance of public funding to colleges, public colleges, and universities. And they've taken a bit of a beating over the last couple of years. And we don't have that same pressure, but you as an owner have the pressure of writing a check and investing to buy a 12th mobile unit instead of only having 10, right? So there's a different pressure on you and your organization, isn't there?
Yeah, well,
You take great big risks.
we do. And it's often in collaboration with a call to action, a particular community that needs support, right? So there's risk. And then there's, during the pandemic, when everything shut down, we all received as educators letters, public and private, received letters from the Ministry of Health saying, we can't tell you what to do. This is an incredibly scary time, but we can tell you we need your grads. And so we took that message to our instructors and our students, and we asked them, what do they want to do? We'd like to continue forward. Who wants to be with us and help us? And we stepped up, and because of that, we were able to, maneuver and get that 10th mobile unit out there to, where was that last spot? It was incredible. Anyways, it was just an incredible time where we saw community, the healthcare sector, students, family members all step up. But you're right, it involves some risk, but the reward of the students and their families as they become graduates and they can participate in keeping those facilities well-staffed and well-run is amazing, and that continues to be the theme for us. So I have to note that my dad, John McNestry, he writes checks. So I have incredible pressure to demonstrate to him that his check will bring a return on investment along with all those good vibes I'm talking about.
He's a lovely man with a great passion for this sector and what you're doing. No, like we finished with one question. We ask everybody. We've all had a great mentor in our life, and I always say the same sentence. Every time we do this, I figure out a new one in the back of my brain when somebody else gets talking about their mentors. Tell me about a great mentor in your life and whether or not they know that they're your mentor. You've told them about it. And how is it approached? Have they changed the way you approach mentorship? Because I know you do it. I've seen you do it. You've put in considerable time this year into a seminar we ran across country that got sold out at our conference in Toronto. So I know you are a mentor, but talk to me a little bit about somebody who's mentored you.
Okay. Bob Wright. Bob Wright has passed, but Bob Wright owned, at his passing, he owned the largest independently owned hospitality group in North America. And I grew up in the greater Vancouver area. My family moved to Campbell River when I was transitioning to grade 10, and I felt like a duck out of water. And I lived on this amazing street called Discovery Drive. We lived right on the ocean, and 2 blocks away was Painter's Lodge. And so I managed to get a job there one summer being a busser. And I would have been about 15 years old. And Bob Wright showed up. He lived in Victoria, but he showed up. Everybody was very nervous. And I became very, very nervous. And I remember he took a few minutes to tour me around the property, or more than a few minutes, and talk to me about the importance of my role and how he really wanted to impart on me that I should own the space, own my position, And he really mentored me to be a leader. That was the first time I met Bob. And I have to tell you that he created so many open doors for me through my teens and my 20s. I could go on, but that first meeting where he took the time to walk a 15-year-old busser around the property and say, hey, I know you work in the dining room, but I want you to feel like you own this place. And literally I did. By the end of the summer, I was like, I own this business. I'm going to help everywhere. And I learned everything. And it was an amazing opportunity. It was an amazing opportunity. I went on to work for Oak Bay through my high school and my university years. And I learned many, many lessons from Bob Wright. And I think that's just it. Creating leadership at your very front line position. The entry level position is so important, and to instill in people the opportunity to feel like doesn't matter what their title is, doesn't matter where they sit in the physical building, that they have the opportunity to own what they do and to own the in our world, the student experience.
It's a great message.
Bob Wright.
That's a great message. I'm going to end the episode here. We try and keep it around 35 minutes. We're real close to that. We're a little long, but Krista and I can chat. I should tell you, Krista, I've got a new one for us the next time we're together. Creme brulee espresso martinis. A restaurant on the weekend with a little creme brulee on the top with the crust, and then you cracked it. I don't want to say it was good, but it was pretty good. We like to have a lot of fun when we get together. Krista's one of those people, as I said earlier, a big smile on her face, an appreciation for life every single day. And we're lucky to be around her, and I'm lucky to call her a friend. So with that, we're going to wind up the episode. Any last message, Krista, for the team?
Oh, well, I would say just leaving it on Bob's feel that brought me back is that look for opportunities to encourage leadership in the classroom as well. Similar to what we were talking about, mentorship, leadership with the staff, but it's also with our students. We look for every opportunity to make sure our students feel like they own the classroom, that they own their desk, and that they're drivers and where they can take that education.
What a message. So with that, I leave you to check out Discovery College, check out one of our other members, maybe check out our new site, canada-careers.ca, that lets you do a bit of a quick search and look at some of the programs that are out there in your own community or remote, so you can get trained up and get a new, fresh start on your career. So Krista, thank you for giving us the time today and for your continued leadership in the sector and in the communities that you live, because it isn't one, you're moving around the province a bit once in a while. And with that, we encourage you all to join us again next week for another edition of the EdUp Canada podcast. Thanks for listening to another episode of the EdUp Canada podcast. We release new episodes regularly, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you know when they are officially out. If you love this episode, please leave a 4- or 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcasts, so that others can also discover how a set of skills can lead to success. Thanks for learning with us.